What's up, everybody? It's Scotty here with Flat Track Flashback, and I know we lack consistency here. I don't know what this setup is, but we're trying it out. We're going to see if it works. Last episode, we talked about Buckeye Nationals and the second event, third and fourth rounds of the Mission Food CTR Flat Track Series. If you hadn't had a chance to check that out, we would love for you to check out the video. We'll link it up here. And yeah, maybe you can look at that after going through this one. But there was some other racing that happened over the weekend, and in addition to Mission Food CTR Flat Track Series racing that took place Friday and Saturday out in Salem, Ohio, when you head out west, there was a event Thursday night, the Ricky Graham Memorial at the King City Fairgrounds, and yeah, that was a small racetrack. It kind of reminded me of like the Timonium Outdoors, but maybe like 10 feet wider and with like the runoff in the corners that you get with Springfield Short Track, but still tight bar banging racing. And thing looked a little rough during heat races for sure. As the night went on, you sort of had a dominant line there on the bottom. That definitely was the preferred racing group. A couple pro classes on the night, a few top riders in the house. Obviously, you know, the Cali locals that hung out. You got to see Michael Inderbitson, James Arnaiz, Cage Tadman out there. They were sort of the main players. And also Chase McDougal, who in the WFO money class got out to an early lead. And then Tadman and Inderbitson were given chase. And Cage went down in turns 3 and 4, collected Inderbitson. We had to have a restart there. And there was already 4 laps complete, but they still went with a complete restart there. And when they did, McDougal led the restart, but then made a mistake with like 8 laps to go. And James Arnaiz was able to take the lead there, and he brought Inderbitson along with him. And pretty quickly after Inderbitson got to second, he stuffed it up under Arnaiz to take the lead and would pull away with the WFO money class. And it wouldn't be the only time that we would see one of those riders go down and another one come away with a big win. So in the Open Expert money class, $1,200 to win based on the flyer that I saw, which is super cool for that event. They had a 10-rider field, and James Arnaiz got the whole shot, and Cage Tadman, Michael Inderbitson up in the mix as well. Cage was trying to get a higher line around him, but just couldn't quite get enough to clear Arnaiz and make the pass. Eventually, he would have to settle in back on the inside behind Michael Inderbitson. And there was a red flag just before halfway, which led to a staggered restart. And Inderbitson would end up using just a higher line in 1 and 2 with this track to get by Arnaiz. He was, able to really just sort of like make the track flow, like keep it circular almost, opening up his entry and able to get more drive off the corner where it looked like Arnaiz was, trying to run just a little more defensive on the bottom. And it almost looked like he was starting and stopping when he get into the corner, getting things turned, and just like Inderbitson able to get to the corners a lot more. But yeah, Michael able to get the lead and bring Tadman through into second. And Tadman and Arnaiz would have a nice little battle for second that unfortunately would end up seeing Cage had a gnarly wipeout. Glad to see that he was okay, but it would take him out of the race. When they went through and did the final restart there, 5-lap dash to the finish, it would be Inderbitson taking home the victory, sweeping the night in the expert class. Arnaiz would hold on to second, and Austin Hellwig would get a little sporty there on the last lap, getting around Jet Katarzi and bring home a 3rd place finish in that class. Additionally, out there, they had a lot of classes. They had a full amateur slate, but they had this really fun Legends class that you had Doug Chandler, Keith Day, Rod Spencer, Rob Lake, Bruce Johnson, and Dan Cahoon in attendance. Super cool to see all those guys racing out there. The heat race was super exciting with Doug Chandler and Rod Spencer. Just dicing it out until the very end. That was a really fun race to watch. In the main event, Rob Lake would lead start to finish. But Spencer was making moves, and he was actually making passes around the outside after a really bad start. He got into second. Rodney Spencer was chasing down Rod Lake and thought he might be able to get there and make the pass, but Rod Lake would hold on for the win, and Doug Chandler would bring it home 3rd. Huge shout out to Walton Webcasting for producing that. It looks like they cover most of the livestock events out of that place, but yeah, that was awesome to be able to have that event to watch, and thanks to WFO Promotions LLC and the AMA for partnering on that event. Just really appreciate getting to see some flat track racing Thursday before the Mission Food CTR series stuff was going on. Additionally, Friday night, they had a race out at Kern, which Track Vision TV has been streaming those. I didn't even know about that, but I went ahead and got me a monthly pass for that so I could go back and rewatch the night before Ventura race that Cage Tadman won and check out James Ott racing there on Friday night before he did a little supermoto racing there. If you got to watch our interview with James, he talked about, those weekend plans and what he was attempting to do. So yeah, you got to race out there at the Kern short track and then do the supermoto thing where he came home second Yeah, if you haven't got a chance to check out the James Ott interview, I guess we'll go ahead and link that bad boy there as well, and y'all can check that one out. Square Deal Riders had their opener over the weekend as well. They got heavily impacted by rain, and main events had to be shortened. They were right up against curfew. Both expert main events, though, would go to Braden Fanders, and Fanders had to hold off a charging Ryder Reese, especially in that open expert main event where I thought Reese might have a shot at him, pulled almost even, but had to lay up. Otherwise, he would have clobbered into Braden and probably taken them both out and handed the win to Dominic Bolak. But yeah, Fanders gets the win in both expert classes on the night. They had a lot of solid riders there, a lot of top locals that are always at that club. Such a fun track to watch racing from. You had guys like Bromley was in attendance, Landon Kalzak, Evan Callagher, just to name a few. The Cunningham twins were there. And like we said, like some stout locals that run up there all the time. Lowell Carson racing up there. You can never count out guys like Craig Estelle either. And super cool to see a lot of Canadian riders in attendance as well. We need to keep an eye on riders from Canada. You got guys like Jordan Bolak, Loic Nadeau, Gabriel Bosvert, and I hope I'm getting these names right. But keep an eye on a lot of the riders in these amateur and young expert riders from Canada. We might be seeing them mix it up with the Aussies and the US riders here in the States on some AFT racing here before too long. Over in England at the DTRA race, it was Tom Neve sweeping the weekend at Greenfield. Jack Bell and Adam James would swap spots on the podium during the weekend at those two events for DTRA. And Declan Bender was over there with help from Dead Good Race Team, and Declan would come home with a pair of sixth place finishes. But really cool to get to see some of our AFT riders venture over to England and dice it up in that series. And for me at least, it's brought a little bit extra attention there, and I definitely want to follow along with that going forward. And hey, you know me, I'm a big Speedway Grand Prix fan, so this past weekend was an exciting one to watch over there in Warsaw, Poland. And defending champ and the guy who won the opening round, Bartosz Marzalek, he had a rough day. He didn't make the sprint race there on Friday. Jan Kvek was able to win that, and Kvek's weekend would not go so well either. On Saturday, he was only able to pick up 3 points through the entirety of his 5 rides and heat races. So from that sprint victory to not even having a sniff of the semifinals. And then Smarzlik wouldn't make the final either, which opened up the door for a couple of riders to definitely pounce on him. Obviously, we're still early in the season there for the points, but that final over there in Warsaw would see 2 Polish riders and 2 Australians. You got Jack Holder and Brady Kurtz, who has come on like a rocket this season. Those 2 Aussies would face off with Dominic Cabrera and Patrick Dudek, and the crowd obviously very much behind the Polish riders, but the Aussies would spoil the Polish party there, and Holder picks up his second Speedway GP win of his career, and Brady Kurtz holds on to second. Dudek would come home third, and Holder, just so much emotion, just such elation there during his celebration after winning that Grand Prix race. He got a win last year, but picking up another one there was super cool this year. Kurtz comes home second. He'll take over the points lead 2 rounds in, and Brady Kurtz was involved in a little bit of heat race drama with Freddie Lindgren earlier in the day, where Kurtz went down, Lindgren made a pass, and Lindgren actually got excluded from that heat race after Kurtz went down, and Freddie was on the phone, none too pleased, but yeah, as the night went on, Kurtz wrapped up enough points and was able to put it in the main event. And it's just a matter of time before Brady Kurtz is winning races. And this kid is a rocket out of the gate already in the Speedway Grand Prix season. So tonight we are joined by a racer, a mentor, a mechanic, a builder. Nick, you've done just about everything there is to do in flat track racing, man. Thank you so much for taking time to chat with us tonight. Before we get into that, how are you? How's the family?
I'm doing good, Scotty. I'm glad to come on here with you. I really appreciate it. Family's good. We're doing this a little late tonight because we waited till Andrew goes down to bed. He usually starts going to bed at around 8:30. So things are good. It's hectic. I'm real busy with the Turner Honda team and raising my little boy and playing family man and building motorcycles and just all of it. So trying to ride motorcycles, just trying to do all of it.
Love it. Love it. Well, I guess we'll kind of work backwards. So we're
Yep.
going to talk about your racing for sure. But yeah, this opportunity, what you're doing with Turner Racing right now, how did that all come about, and sort of what is your role within that paddock?
So, man, I think it really came about last year. I helped Mike out, like just friend at the racetrack years past, and kind of got to know him when he first got started. With just helping him with little setup things at the track, but last year he reached out to me. I stepped away from running my team and he reached out and just asked if I was interested in working with Walker Porter. And Walker's dad had been buying. I started paying attention to Walker when his dad started buying sprockets from me every year. Like he'd buy a set of quick change sprockets like every year for like three years or 4 years or something like that. So Mac was buying sprockets, so I started paying attention to this boy and saw how good he was, and then just seeing the way they were as a family and stuff. So Mike asked me if I was interested in kind of grooming Walker, getting him ready for his professional debut this year. And man, that was like it was a really cool thing to step away from the pro paddock full time and work with a kid who just loves racing motorcycles. So I started last year with him around March, and then quickly started building some Hondas for him. And then this year it turned into hey, let's Walker's moving up, Trevor's coming on board, back on board. You're going to build the motorcycles, you're going to be at the track, you're going to do a little bit of everything. I build the bikes, I help with the setup stuff there, help with rider coaching if it's needed, and just a little bit of everything.
What do you see in Walker that you feel like is going to pay huge dividends for him as a racer on the AFT circuit?
Well, he's first off, he's just incredibly gifted. I mean, I think he's one of those like we look at like generational talents that come along, and I think he's one of them. We see a couple of them every couple of years. Um, he's also just like a really even keel personality, which I think really helps him. He doesn't get like super worked up about stuff and angry. I mean, I from what I'm told when he was younger, he did, but I don't see that now. Yeah, he's just his abundance of talent, and you can just see his the way he rides a motorcycle and transitions on a bike and stuff like that. He's just yeah, he's got it all.
It's definitely been fun to watch him. He's always been such a talented rider, like you mentioned. But the moment he hopped on 450s and like was immediately battling with some of the best guys out there at the pro race, he and Trevor Bruner had this crazy battle. And then earlier this year, when he was down there at Ocala and racing some of the best guys, it's been so fun to watch him just really settle into that role. What are you trying to help him the most with as far as like keeping his mindset, keeping him level headed, coming into a pro debut to try to alleviate some of the pressure that comes with being a rookie?
I think with Walker, maybe the biggest thing is we're working on teaching him is more about understanding the motorcycle. Like in the past, they never made any adjustments. So like he just rode it and he adapted. And now he's racing with guys, he raced with good amateurs, but like I feel that he was always kind of the star of the show. And now he's racing with a bunch of stars of the show. Like they're all fast. And getting him to understand the racecraft side of it, along with the bike setup side, is probably the two takeaways I think we're working the most with him. But yeah, I mean, he's picking it up. I mean, he you can tell like there's certain tracks he's not acclimated to yet, and it takes him a little bit longer through the day to get going. But it's like you have to sit back and realize the boy just turned 16 years old, and he's still a kid. He is going to keep learning. So, but no, he's just fine. He's got everything under control before for this next race when he goes pro.
It's definitely exciting to see. There's a lot of really talented riders coming up, and we're looking forward to seeing his debut there at Lucas Oil. You mentioned having to do some bike building yourself. I was curious if you could offer some insight into what it takes to go from just your stock showroom 450 motocross bike and make it into a flat tracker for somebody who's interested in maybe getting started in the sport, maybe or looking to build a bike for a kid that's starting to get more interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody to get into the sport, it doesn't take a whole lot. Like with these modern motocross bikes, I mean, you really some lowered suspension, and I mean, you can even get away with the stock rear wheel and just a 19-inch front wheel, and that'll get your feet wet with it. Now, like what we're building with the Turner team. I mean, that's a whole different ball game when it gets into what you're doing to it. But just to get involved, it really doesn't take all that much to get started. It just takes some lowered suspension and a front wheel and ideally a wider rear wheel, but the stock rear wheels are 19-inch. You can throw a dirt track tire on the rear.
Now that's obviously with a 450. As you move up into like a
Hmm.
twin, like how much more goes into getting something like that ready? Because we don't have like You can't really just go
Yeah.
buy a flat tracker off a showroom floor, like a twin flat
That
track off a showroom floor.
that's where it gets tough. That's where it's hard. So you have to go through a lot. Like you have to educate yourself on what platform you want to start with. And there's so much goes into it because different brands have different things that you have to worry about. The Yamaha is in stock form is a little underpowered, but the platform, the size of the motor, everything, like it's a good viable motor. And then the KTM has plenty of power, but it's got fly-by-wire and it's a little bit more of a handful. So you've got to tackle if you want to convert the throttle bodies, if you want to stick with the fly-by-wire. The other brands, Honda, there's Turner is involved with the Big Red Super Twins team. That motor is they're the only ones out there with it. So that motor, they're kind of just not reinventing the wheel, but they're paving their own way and they're making all their parts. So you start with your motor choice, and then you've got to from there you have to get in touch with someone. There's not many frame builders left. I mean, who I rely on is Mike Owens with J&M. You have to get a set of cases out there and have him build a frame, and then from there, it's a lot of the twins are they're a lot of fun to build. But man, it's a whole different ball game. You're making wire harnesses, you're making all your bracketry, you're fitting everything together. But like that's to me, it's like the motorcycle sitting behind you. It's like the XRs, like that's the bikes you can sit in the garage and just look at and kind of drool over. There's not, you can look at one and you'll never look at another one that's the same as that one, and that's what's really really special about them. But yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of picking the combinations you want to use to put together, and finding the people that you can entrust to help with the process in building them.
You mentioned like how there's not a ton of frame builders left. Is that sort of like the biggest, I guess, concern with twins going forward? Is like, I mean, do we need to worry about that potentially being the biggest hurdle to overcome, or is it more of like trying to find like a motor package that people can rely on, because it's kind of all over the place at this point in that class?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a combination of a lot of things. I think that like in racing, like if you give the option in a rule package, people are going to push it, and the cost of the motorcycles is getting substantial. I mean, it's not cheap to build one, to make one competitive. If you want to run up front, and you're limited on resources. So you're limited on who can do what, who can build a frame, where you can get a gas tank, where you can get the fiberglass from. I mean, unfortunately, right now in the sport, Mike Owens building the frames, he's in his 60s. At some point, he'll probably want to retire. A lot of people rely on Jack Warren with first class glass. I mean, he's in his 80s. Like, so at some point, he's not going to be able to do it. So I think that on that side, it's hard. On the other flip side of it is we've had a lot of rule changes, and I think it scares a lot of people away from that investment. There's more money, I guess, as a privateer to run the twins class, but it also takes a lot more to build the bike, maintain the bike, and have the knowledge of setting the motorcycle up to go be competitive with it.
For sure. And like now, like with this rules package that is hopefully going to be in place, for 3 years, they said it would. So let's
Yeah.
let's hope that it will. Is there any sort of platform that you see that if you were looking to build a twin now with what the package is there any platform that you see that is something that excites you, as an exciting endeavor to maybe pursue that? I mean, because you don't really have a whole lot of time with all the Turner commitments, but if you
Yeah,
did.
yeah. So I have some of my Yamaha twins still, and then I'm working on some KTM twins right now. I'm actually building my own Suzuki GSX-8 platform with J&M frame. I think that, in my opinion, I think that's the best motor package right now. Just looking at everything on a production standpoint, that motor kind of to me hits all the marks of what it would take to be a really good viable package with little work to it, without having to, like the Yamahas, to make them competitive for the mile. You're boring them or boring and stroking them. You're doing a lot of stuff to them. Whereas this new Suzuki, it makes really good power and its stock displacement. It's got weight in the right places. It's got a removable cylinder for maintenance. It's easy to get to stuff. It's a really good package, and it's good enough package that in my, I don't have a lot of free time, like you said, but I am building one. I don't really have a reason to build it other than I think it's really something special, and I want to take and put each of these brands on my dyno and like cross compare them and like, okay, why does this one hinder here? Like what's holding it back? And uh, just I don't know what I'm going to do with the information, but just one of those where it's I'm a fanatic of the sport just like you, and I just my brain spins and it's like, let me figure this out.
We'll do it. We'll do a part two of this, and you don't have
Yeah,
to be
right.
coy. You know you're building a Suzuki, so you can come back and race the twins next year. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Do you think we'll ever? And I don't expect us to ever get back to where it was in like the '90s, early 2000s, where everybody's lining up on
Yeah.
Harleys. But do you realistically, or you can be optimistic, and whichever you choose path,
Yeah.
do you see us ever getting back to like where it was in maybe like the mid 2010s, where you had a handful of Harleys and a bunch of guys coming up with Kawasaki's? Do you see any two platforms that might prevail and be appealing to where we can get a consistent 20 to 25 even along that? Or you think it's going to be pretty much this wild west of let's just throw everything at a wall and see what happens?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it really starts on the amateur side. Like I think that we need to be focusing on building our the amateur stuff up and you know, cost standpoint, like now for a parent to take their kid to race, and it's not the promoter's fault that it costs so much to do it. I mean, the track rental, the insurance, sanctioning fees, it's really expensive, and there's just so much for kids to do these days, and so many different things, going on, and video games, and just it's a different world, and I think we don't have the numbers on the flat track side in the amateur side moving up. And at some point they're going to turn 16. They're going to maybe pick cars over motorcycles, and we lose half those guys. Well, the problem is I think we just have half of what we used to, if not less than half of them. So I think it starts on the like building back the amateur stuff first, and then it translates. I think that if AFT can stick with their rules package and like you said, 3 years the same thing. If they don't make another big change here, like and make bikes obsolete again, I think it'll slowly with momentum build back in the twins. I mean I think our single stuff like I haven't looked closely at it, but I think we're kind of in a positive trend from last year and the year before with entry counts. So I think that's better. It's going in the right direction. Twin side, I think it's just going to take time to see where it could go. I don't think we'll ever have the 50 guys in a class that we had 25 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. I don't foresee this us getting that. Maybe once in a
Mhm.
while at one of these,
Yeah,
winter throwdown events where everything's,
right.
combined and it's just madness. But yeah, probably not that. But you're right. The singles class does seem to be trending in the right direction. There's so many good riders in the pipeline all the way through, and we get to witness that. We're very fortunate to see that in some of these bigger amateur events. Is there a certain pocket of the country that you see sort of the biggest potential in at this time, like on the amateur circuit of kids coming up? Or, I mean, is that something that's kind of hard for you to really observe with everything that's on your plate at this time?
Yeah, man, people travel so much more now racing. Like it used to be you raced your local district and then everyone met up at amateur nationals and that's where the shakedown was. And now it's like, people are traveling to Corey's races, and you got, all over the country, traveling to them. So like, um, like the Reagans, for example, they come all the way out to they're near DeCoin. They come to the Virginia RVA races. They go down to Florida. Like I'm just using him as an example because I see him at all the big events. So I don't see it as being like these pocket clusters as much anymore because there's I think you still have your hot spots. Like maybe it's because the area I'm from, like I still think that District 6, District 7, Pennsylvania area, like they still have a kind of showcase, and that might be because of the tracks and the guys, racing, that you still have to you get some local ex pros that kind of keep the up and coming kids in check. And so I don't get a chance to pay attention too much to the other local areas. Um, but right now it's I don't see anyone like specific clusters of fast guys in, in groups.
Man, you talk about like local pros that would show up. Whenever you were coming up, like District 6, PA, Maryland, Mid Atlantic, like
Yeah.
for years, there were, national champions that were coming out of there.
Oh yeah.
And you had some pretty cutthroat battles. It was always fun to come up there and watch racing at,
Yeah.
up in the Northeast. I wish I could have gotten up there more when I was younger, not just to Shippensburg and Timonium. What were some of your favorite moments about like racing in that district, and who were some of the pros that really sort of, you know, took you under your wing and maybe like taught you lessons either good or bad?
Yeah. Man, there were so many. I mean, there's when when I moved up like to A class. Well, growing up, the guys that were just a couple years older than me were you had Jared Mees, Sean Bear, Chris Kleinfelder, Brian Douglas, Jason Eisenach. Those were the guys that I can really like think of. And then you had the guys that were older than that, the Georgie Price and Ken Yoder and Roy Miller and Ricky Winsett and man, there it was just Kevin Varnes, Mike Varnes. There were so many of them, and you could go to a local race, whether it was Trailways or anywhere, Shippensburg or Timonium, and there realistically could be 25 guys you're racing against. So I think I spent a lot of time you're talking about the older guys kind of looking up to. I think one of my good buddies was Chris Kleinfelder, who passed away in 2012. But I probably looked up to him the most. He was he was like a really underrated rider. Like he had all the potential, but he just didn't. He wanted to do it all himself, him and his dad. So like he didn't really. It didn't transfer into the professional side of things. But man, he won so many local races, and he was a standout. But he was just so fierce, and just nothing bothered him. And you remember watching him race. I mean, and he was a character in himself. So and then. I spent a lot of time with like just my local buddies, Mike Poe and Jason Eisenach and um, guys like that I spent a lot of time around that we kind of racing each other, we made each other better. But yeah, Chris would be kind of the standout of them. A lot of other guys I looked up to, but I spent a lot of time traveling with Chris and to local stuff and wherever. And I feel like he made me better.
Did you and Jason and Mike ever have to throw fisticuffs or defend one another in a timonium?
Throw fists.
Yeah.
I don't, man, I know that like we've all pissed off a lot of and pissed off each other. But I don't think any of us have ever actually gotten to a position where it was like going to be a fist fight. I think like you can move somebody out of the way, because like, you've been to the indoors and you've seen the way it goes in there. Like, but if you can delicately punt somebody out of the way, it's different than aggressively punting them out of the way. And I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense, but if you go in there, you kind of watch it and see that. And there's some guys somebody can move someone out of the way and it's like it's kind of graceful, and then someone else does it and it's super sloppy and that person's pissed off. So I think it's about being delicate with it.
Yeah, you have to kind of leave your, I guess you can't be sensitive if you're going to timonium indoors, because there is an art to the bump and
No.
run.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun in there.
Yeah, I'm glad you still support that. It was really cool to catch up with you there last year. It's such a
Yeah.
fun environment. I really love going there. They run a really entertaining show, and it's cool to see the fans still support it so much. Um, what ultimately made you want to step away from competitive racing, or like professionally, I guess?
Man, I want to say like I probably picked to do it and I didn't pick. I went my age. It was the worst possible time. Like I raced like basic twins on an XR in 2007 and ran some singles nationals back when it was 0 to single on a twin. And I don't really need to explain the average person will know what happened in 2008 with the economy. And it was just, man, it was I raced that year and racked up a bunch of credit card debt. I come from a big family, so I paid for it all myself. Did it all pretty much on my own with some small supporters. Um, and it was just the next year. I mean, it was just the bottom kind of fell out. Like you couldn't really get tires at the time. There was no support. There was no contingency didn't exist. there's no spec fuel. So like you were running $35 a gallon fuel back then to be competitive. And it was just like, in 2007, beginning of that year too, my brother became paralyzed, and it's kind of one of like, it was a combination of a lot. And it's just like, man, I can't afford this. Like, you're kind of in an emotional, weird place because your brother's in a wheelchair from, riding bikes. And, I don't know. I was kind of probably forced out of it financially. But then I realized that, like, I can go race all kinds of other stuff, and I can use that money and build cool motorcycles, and do a lot of other stuff with it. And instead of spending money to chase a dream at a national, it's like, well, I can have a different frame or this, so I went back and I had a little stint in 2012, and got my license again. And I think that was like probably a sign telling me, hey, stay away. I made the Springfield TT national, and off the start, someone stalled in front of me, and I got into the back of them and got ran over by three people and broke my hand pretty good. And I think I came back and raced one or two more races that year once it healed. And it was like, man, I don't know. It was like signs telling me, like, it's maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just me being trying to be smart about it, but it didn't work.
Full circle now, because you talked about
Yeah.
building bikes and how much fun you're having with what you're doing right now. And so it definitely, like, I know it's probably maybe a little difficult in the moment. Maybe, you think back
Yeah,
on what could have been, but it definitely seems like the right decisions were made with everything you mentioned and considered. So
for
I
sure.
love that you're still absolutely like fully involved in the sport. It's so cool seeing you guys in the pits. Um, that's all I have for tonight. Is there
Yeah.
anything else that you want to just like talk to about flat track fans? Anything you want to talk about with the team? Anything you want to hype up as we move forward?
I mean, at first, Scotty, I think it's awesome what you do. Like, I'm so appreciative of the effort you put in. I know it's just you donating time, but like you're helping rebuild our sport. Not that it necessarily needs rebuilding, but it's a different generation, and kids are watching YouTube stuff, and we need people to put out the media stuff. And I wish I could do more of it. Like, I just don't have the time. It's I don't have time to post stuff on social media and stuff anymore. But yeah, I think it's awesome what you're doing, and I really appreciate it. And it goes really far. I also am really grateful for Mike Turner, and just the opportunity to work with him. It's been a lot of fun. And it's like I get stressed out because of the workload, and I've got a bunch of motors I'm doing right now for the bikes, and I get stressed about it. And I have to pinch myself sometimes and just remember, like, hey, I'm really lucky to be where I'm at, and doing what I love. I was just a little kid not long ago that just obsessed over dirt bikes. And I always said I wanted to race at the pro level, and I got there. And then that turned to, I really just love building motorcycles. And it's like, and then it turned into, I really want to circle back and do it right at the racetrack at a professional level and help others. And that's kind of where it's at now. And I did my own team for a little while, and then Mike picked me up. And a lot of the burden and what made it not fun was running the team and doing everything, building the bikes, building the motors, and bringing in the money and on. And Mike takes care of that back end stuff, and he runs a really great team. And it's awesome. I get to be a part of it and see some motorcycles I built go really fast by some really, really good riders with Trevor and Walker.
Okay, one last question though, I guess. Who
Yep.
so if we line you guys up, if we line up you and Kenny and Sam Lowe against Trent, Trevor, and Walker, who's coming out?
Wh-
Are the vets gonna school
where?
the kids?
Where at?
Uh Capital City, since you guys are always there.
Capital City. Man, I still think Kenny's going to school us all. I really think Kenny would school all of us. That man is like, I'll tell you this. The first time I rode an XR was at Hagerstown, and I rode Mike Lynch's Harley, which is Paul Lynch's dad. And Paul goes down into turn three with me, and he said, "All right, so because I was racing basic twins then, which is like production twins, now, but they were XRs. You could be on anything. It was just the XRs were restricted. And Paul said, all right, so just don't watch Kenny or Jake Johnson and Kenny Coolbeth. So of course that's who I was glued to. And that's when I really started paying attention to Kenny. And man, he's just supernatural on a motorcycle. The way he knows how to like load the chassis on entry with the brake and still on the throttle. I see Breyer do it now, and I see a couple other guys. I saw Davis Fisher do it some, and there's not a lot of guys that are just have the natural ability he has. I don't think it'll ever go away with him. Like I think he's one of those guys he can throw his boots and a steel shoe on, and he'll school just about anybody out there. So that would be my pick. Now we go to like Timonium Indoors. It might be a different story. It's I don't think he's been there in a while, but you know, at like a clay short track, I honestly I think Kenny's got all of us.
Do you think you could convince Mike to bring the Turner team to Timonium one year?
Man, I don't know. That'd be a lot of torn up equipment. That would be a lot. That would be cool, but that would be a lot of torn up equipment. I do think a lot of people don't like the little tiny concrete bull ring stuff, but I will say I think in my racing and racecraft that place really builds a lot of it. You never get a break, and it's all about perfection. And you know your sub 7 second lap times, and you have to be perfect, and you have to be aggressive, and yeah, your mental clarity has to be there, and you can't make sudden movements on the bike. There's just a lot that happens really really fast that I think translates. You know, other people can call me crazy, but you know, I feel like I learned a lot growing up being in there, and it's just a blast. And you know, it's just a blast going in there in the wintertime when nothing else is going on, and you know, bouncing off each other, you know, your buddies and stuff like that, and then drinking a beer afterwards.
For sure. Well, if nothing else, reaction time. I mean, vital. Like
Absolutely.
reaction time
For
there
sure.
has to be, like you said, just so precise. Man, thank
Yeah,
you so much. I really appreciate the time. It's always good chatting with you. We love hanging out with you guys in the pits there at the racetrack. And it's super
absolutely.
cool to get some time with you tonight. I don't want to keep you up too late. You don't probably get enough sleep as it is with the kids. So, Nick, thank you so much, man. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Scotty. Have a good one.
So yeah, a massive thanks to Nick Henderson for taking time to chat with us. So much fun getting to sort of chop it up with him on the channel here. And man, there's so much that we could have dove into that we just didn't have enough time. But Nick is such an awesome guy, and it's so cool getting to hang out with him at the Turner Racing pits. And I appreciate the hospitality that he shows me every time we're chatting at the racetrack or taking time to do stuff like this. It means the world. So yeah, super cool to have him on. And Memorial Day is coming up here soon. All sorts of racing going on. You've got your pro motocross is back. You've got Formula One going on. You've got the Indy 500. You got the Coke 600 here in Charlotte. So I'm going to be miserable in traffic all weekend when I'm trying to get to the studio for my sprint car shows to work. Flat track race fans, you guys have the Lodi Cycle Bowl's got their Triple Crown event this weekend. There's an RPM race this weekend on the 24th up at Van Wert. And then the FIM Flat Track Series is back in action. Sammy Halbert's going to be looking to take that #1 plate over there and defend it and get another FIM championship. So it'll be cool to follow along with that as they are doing free shows, free broadcasts, FIM TV for that all year. So we can watch Sammy and all the rest of the FIM riders over there in Italy this weekend for that series to kick off. So, man, thank you guys so much again for taking time to click on this channel, to support this channel, to watch this video, to listen to me yap about Flat Track, and hopefully it's a little bit easier when I bring guests on, makes it a little more tolerable. But thank you guys so much for supporting this. It really does mean the world. If you want to interact with us off of this platform, you can always follow us on Instagram. It's at Flat Track Flashback on Instagram, or send us an email, flattrackflashback@gmail.com. Make sure you're supporting all of those podcasts, YouTube channels, everybody that's doing stuff to bring this sport to light and to support it and showcase this amazing Flat Track family that we have. We love you guys. Thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, disliking, everything. Just thank you for taking time to check out this channel. And I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Take care, y'all.